Good evening and welcome to Transformations Bedtime Encouragement. I'm your host, Pamela Jordan, and we are here to encourage you this evening for you lay down and rest on tonight. I thank each and every one of you joining me for this wonderful evening of bedtime encouragement. So put your hearts down there, put your comment buttons, put your comments, hit the like buttons, and let me know that you're enjoying our topics that we've been talking about in bedtime encouragement. Well, our topic for this month, or our theme for this month, we've been talking about relationships. And we've been jumping into different aspects of relationships. Well, tonight I want to jump in and talk a little bit more about relationships, but I want to look at the other end of relationships for those of you who are starting to date, who are single, and starting to date and venture out in the dating world. Many of us know when we start out getting back into the dating arena, it is treacherous out here. It is rough. A lot of married people, I always tell them, you're lucky you're married, because when you're single and you're out here in this world of being single, when you've been married before, it's very hard. And the dating scene is so hard. It's so much going on out here. You don't know what to expect and what's happening. So I'm just going to try to help encourage someone tonight, and for you to encourage me if you have some comments and some experience that you could share on when you're out here in the dating scene of being single. A lot of times I always say we have to have some standards. A lot of people get frustrated, don't, especially guys, when you're starting to meet people, and I always call it meet and greet. You may meet someone and you talk a few times over the phone, or you may text. And I always say, texting is not a good thing. Good evening, Renee. Hi, good to see you. I am one who hates texting a lot. You meet someone and you may text for a little bit, but I am one who believes in being able to pick up the phone, call someone, and have a conversation with them if you're interested in them. The texting thing is just gone out of proportion. No one wants to talk on the phone anymore. That is one of the biggest things that I've noticed in the dating arena as someone that's single. A lot of guys want to text. They don't want to talk on the phone, but they want to text all the time. So it's okay to have some standards. When you're out here in the dating world, please have some standards, and don't take your standards down. Stick to them. A lot of times, ladies, we want to change them up because we may meet someone and he may not like one of the things that you're saying or have. Do not change the standards. If there's standards that God has given you to set forth, please stick to your standards. A lot of times we hear it a lot. People, we hear those same people saying, "Wait on, we're waiting on God," and I'm a firm believer know we're not out there chasing and seeking Him. He's coming to us. But when we do meet that someone, and you do happen to go out a date, it's not about test driving. It's not about jumping in and meeting guys, sleeping with guys, meeting guys, and that's what I mean by test driving. Many who have a car, you go out to a car dealership, you see something that you like this car, you ask the salesman for the keys, and you go out and you test drive it. And as you test drive it, you figure, this may not be the one that I want. It may not fit the standard. It doesn't feel right. So you take the car back, you give them the keys, and you say, well, I'm going to try something else. So now you're still walking around the dealership and you're looking at another car and you say, okay, let me test drive this. Well, this is not part of the dating scene, because sometimes we take that out of context. And we're out here test driving, and we're test driving to the point that we're sleeping with this person, that we're sleeping with that person, that we're sleeping with this person. And we figure that, in order to have a good relationship, I gotta sleep with this person, or forget this person's life, I gotta sleep with that person. I consider that test driving. You're out here test driving, and men have been told that plenty of times that it's okay. That is not okay. It's not okay at all. We don't want you to get into test driving anything. You meet someone, set some standards up for your dating. Set some rules up when it comes to dating. Don't just go out willy-nilly. I always say, if you meet someone, meet them in a place where there's a lot of people. Don't go on a date with someone where it's secluded and it's just you and them, even though they try to say, oh, this is romantic and all that stuff. Meet them. That's the key thing. Meet them. I'm old-fashioned in a sense too. You want someone to come to your house, but we're in 2018. Meet them somewhere. I always get there ahead of time. I'm sitting there waiting because I am observing. But meet them at the place, and you drive your car, they drive their car. You know, um, that's a good point. Someone put down and bring them on camera. That is a good point. Have your phone. You want to keep yourself safe, ladies, when we're out here in the dating world, and that's the biggest key thing is date safely. Be safe. So go out to a place where there's a lot of people around. Don't go any place by yourself. Another good way to go on a date is group dating. Group dating is wonderful. And that is you and a couple of your friends, you all get together and you go out on a group date. So you're around other people. So if something happens and this person is not what you seem and they're starting to act crazy, you're around a group of people. Please let someone know. Ladies, this is so important, especially for single women. When you go out on a date with someone, let someone know. If you got children, I always let my, oldest son know when I'm going out with someone, if I'm meeting someone. I let them know who their name is. I leave a phone number. I leave as much information I can because I always tell them if something happens, you have this information, and when you call the police, you let them know. But let someone know. So there's an accountability there, and your accountability to someone. So when you go on the date, the date is over, you call that person who's the accountability partner, you let them know I made it home safely, everything was okay, and hold someone accountable. It's being safe, dating safely. So as I said, you go out to a public place, you meet someone there, you guys are enjoying dinner. Be careful in the conversation, ladies. Sometimes we say too much in the conversation. Watch what we say. Don't dominate the conversation. We have that really bad. Don't dominate the conversation. Watch the stuff that you say. Watch the answers that you give, because you don't want to give him too much of your information. Because a lot of times what happened is, and this is, I just brought to my memory back, is there's a Medea movie. I think it's called, I can't think of it offhand, but it's one of Medea's movies, and then once I think of it, I'll post it. And the young lady, she was a young lady, she was into church, she hardly ever went out on dates and stuff because she was heartbroken. So she finally, her friend said, okay, I'm going to set you up and date and meet someone from online. She met this gentleman in a restaurant, and at that time, they talked and they dated, but she gave him too much information. He knew so much about her. And during the movie, he was a con artist. So he took the information that she gave to him, that she was crying for, and that she was longing for someone, and she gave all her personal information. He used that against her, where he even talked her into marrying her, took everything she had, cleaned out her bank account, and left her with nothing. So be careful in your conversations that you're having on your dates. Do not give out too much information about yourself. Wait in that, let him lead the conversation. Talk about whatever he's talking about. Talk about him as much as you can. Compliment him. Try to stir the conversation off you, because you don't want to give out too much information. So I'm talking about dating safely. So when we're out there, and hello everybody, I think that's Angela, Michelle. Good to see you. Hi, and I know that was Yvette. Hi, Yvette. But, go to a place that is a lot of people. Don't drink. A lot of people that drink, don't drink on the first date when you meet someone. Don't get drunk. Because when we start to drink, if we get drunk, we're not ourselves. And some people will spike your drinks. Some people will have you guys will buy your drinks on purpose to get you drunk. Don't drink. Have some water and some lemon, some soda, or something so that you can be in your right mind, that you can know what's going on around your surroundings. Date safely. Don't sit there and just drink and guzzle down because you want to, as I said, some people say they drink so they can loosen up and they feel comfortable and all that stuff. That's all in good. But when you're just meeting someone for the first time on a date, on a meet and greet, do not drink. Don't go drinking anything. Get you some water. Keep your mind focused so you know what's going on around you. Because the drinking leads to what happens to a lot of women. That's when we get into date rape. And, you're drinking so much that you don't know what's going on. You're not in your right mind. And now you fall into the category of date rape. And that happens a lot. A lot. From our young girls to our older women, when you're going out on a date, is the date rape. So, don't do the drinking thing. Go out, have a soda, have dinner, enjoy yourself. Don't give out too much information. But have some standards. Set some standards, on your date. What time? one of the biggest things I had to learn, and that was a blessing to me when I learned it, is that I had to figure out my weak points. And when I mean that, my areas of weakness when I'm with someone, those areas that I need to be careful of. And that was going out late. And I had to set a certain time. So it could have been after 7 o'clock or 8 o'clock. 9 o'clock, it may have been 8 or 9, I don't go on a date. Because once that date time hits, your body starts to wind down and things happen. So I had to set a standard of time for when I go on a date. This is the time I go. If it doesn't meet the standard of the time, I don't go. Because you have to know you. You have to know your points. You have to know your trigger points. You have to know your do's and you have to know your don'ts. So you have to be very careful. So set your standards that we even pray and seek God for guidance when we meet someone. And a lot of times we don't. We are so excited that we've met someone and he's interested in us, and now we're going on this date, and we've been talking on the phone, we're finding it out. But how many of us really, really seek God for guidance to say, Lord, is this the right person? Seek Him and talk to Him about this person before you even go out on a date, before you even proceed. Just these three key points I want to just share real quick about that, is that you can ask the Lord, and you have to really be honest in your feelings and your emotions, but seeking the Lord and seeking and asking God, find out, does God approve of this person you're dating? Begin to pray about it and say, well, will God approve of this person that I'm dating? Will God approve of this person that I just met? Is this person up to the standard that God has for me? That is so important of God. And that is so important. The next question will be, does God condone your behavior with this guy? A lot of times, and we see it all the time, a lot of women change their behavior when they start to date. How many of us have girlfriends, and we've heard it through the years that we've come there, girl, you changed since you dated him. You don't call me no more. We don't go out. We don't hang out. We don't do this or that anymore. A lot of women change. They start to change the way they act, the way they talk, the way they walk. And you got to check yourself. Am I changing for the good of the relationship, or I'm changing for the bad? Am I changing because I'm trying to keep him and I'm not being myself? Or am I changing because he's teaching me and he's improving me, he's lifting me up where I am improving and I want to change? So you have to ask that question, Lord, do you condone the behavior that I'm having with this guy? Is my behavior the same? Is that number one on your topic, on your standards? Is that the number one thing on your standards is this guy has to have a relationship with God. Any guy that you date or meet has to have some relationship with God. And that is so important. It's so important. A lot of times we don't put that as a standard. We put the tall, dark, and handsome, six-pack, skinny, got it going on, brothers on our list. But having a relationship with God is not the top priority on a lot of women's lists. That has to be the first priority. Does he love God? Does he love God? So that is so important for you to put on your relationship, is that does he love God? Important when you're in a relationship, or when you're starting to meet someone. Those should be like the top. That should be like the top number one thing on your list of standards when you meet someone, is to find out, and not just does he go to church, because a lot of guys can go to church. A lot of guys go to church. Going to church is different than really having that personal relationship with God. That personal relationship with God is that he is hearing from God and he is doing what God is telling him to do. He is walking in the vision that God has given him. So making sure he has this relationship with God is so important. And because when you do that, then he has some standards. He'll have some standards, and he'll know how to treat you on a date. He'll know how to, when he needs to stop, when he knows that this is not going to go this far, that, we're not going to get into the sex part of the relationship, but we're going to keep talking and meeting, greeting, going to church together. Standards for no one. Keep your standards high of where they're at, because you want, he has to meet you at your standards. One thing I was taught, and a pastor would tell me all the time, is you're just like a car driving on the highway. You're going 90 miles an hour. and this guy is merging into your life, and he is going 60. You do not drop back down to 60. You keep going 90. He's got to catch up with you doing 90. Because if you drop back down to 60, now you're dropping down your standards. And if he really wants to be with you, he will step it up and get to 90 and catch up with you. So never drop down your standards. If you're going 90 miles an hour and this guy is coming into your life, he's got to go 90 miles an hour or beyond. He's got to catch up with you. You do not drop down. A lot of times women, we drop down. Do not drop down. Just write some things down about your relationship with that person. How is your relationship looking as together? Are you guys even going to church together, even though you're dating? Have you visited his church? Has he visited your church? Write those things down. Write down, things about your relationship that is happening. And the next thing, number 2, was write down the things that are regarded as earthly in your relationship. And it could be just the physical looks of this person, but some things that are earthly about your relationship. And when you do that, start to look at each one of those lists and kind of compare. Because, you want to see if you're missing some things you guys may need to change, some areas you may need to grow, some places in your relationship that you may need to get together. And even doing that list, it may cause you to make a decision that you may need to separate. That this person may not be the person that God has for you. And that is okay in the Lord. If it's hindering you and not uplifting you, you may need to check that out, and you may need to just cut it, period. Or just reevaluate the relationship and see if this person is really who God has called you to be. So I just want to just encourage some of the women out there tonight. Like I said, our theme this month, we're talking about relationships, and we've been just talking about different aspects of relationships. But I wanted tonight to kind of jump in and talk to those of you who are in relationships and who are dating. Because a lot of times in our Christian walk, as single people, they'll tell you, not to date and you got to do this. But if you're out there dating, it's okay. It's not a bad thing. But if you're out there dating, have some standards. Listen to God. Allow God to guide you in your dating relationships. Just make some standards. Don't lower your standards. Keep them high. Allow God to guide you and direct you that God wants you to be in. Well, I hope I'll be blessed someone tonight. I hope these words of encouragement will help someone, and if not you, someone that you know. Share with someone some of the topics that we're talking about, and I would love to hear your comments. I would love to see your comments in the comment section and your thumbs up, and put some hearts down there. It's a blessing to see your words of encouragement, because they encourage me to keep going, to be motivated. But put down in the comment sections for me if you have a topic and something that, it's encouraging. Because as I said, we're talking about just dating safely tonight. I just wanted to just throw some little things that I have learned in the dating process, getting out there as being single. And like I said earlier, as we started, it's rough. It is not easy. It's rough out there. The choices for some of us is not good pickings, and for some of us out there with that person, and really see where God has for you. And we're not talking about you going out there chasing, because you're not to be the one chasing. He's to come to you. But if you're at the point where you met someone and you guys have talked, and like I said earlier, get away from that texting. All that texting, no. If he can't pick up the phone and give you a call, that's a cue right there. Come on, ladies, got to use some wisdom. Sometimes when we get saved and we're serving the Lord, we throw the wisdom out the door. Don't throw your wisdom out the door. But if it's a constant text relationship and you hardly ever talk to him on the phone, you need to reevaluate that. You really need to reevaluate that. And like we say, set some standards. Like I share, set some standards on time. I can't really integrate, because that was so important in my walk, in my dating relationship, is setting a time of when to call him. Reconnection gets kind of shaky down here, and it goes in and out down here where I'm at. So I'm hoping you're getting the broadcast, and let me know if you're not. I will, just let me know if it's coming through and if it's not coming through, so I'll know how to handle our conversations. But like I said, I thank each and every one of you joining me for Bedtime Encouragement. You guys are keeping us going and keeping us moving. It's keeping me excited, because you're excited about coming on and listening. But just put your hearts down there, throw me some thumbs up, and put your comments down there. And let me know, if the topics are being a blessing. And also put down there where you're watching from. That is a really blessing to me. So I thank each and every one of you. I don't want to hold you too long because I know it's getting late. And I want you to enjoy a nice, comfortable rest tonight as you lay down to sleep. And I pray that God will bless each and every one of you, that you will